David Marcus, thank you very much for joining us. Fascinating new endeavor you're launching today. I'm going to start with some basics, a simple question. So unlike most cryptocurrencies, Libra will be backed by fiat money held in regulated financial institutions. Why does the token need to be on a blockchain? Why is that the ultimate or the best database structure for this currency?
Well, it's the best database structure because if you want decentralized governance over something that should be governed as a public good, this is the best way to achieve this. And so we went the blockchain route because we will have, by the time we launch, 100 different global organizations that will participate in the governance of this new network and currency. 27 organizations right now. And so we needed a way to decentralize governance because no one company should control a network that basically is a protocol for value on the internet.
Let's talk about some of those launch partners. One thing that people noticed immediately is there's no other major tech companies and there's no traditional existing banks as we know them. Were they approached, or was there any particular reason for their absence?
Well, I mean, I know you want to talk about all the companies that are not here, but I think we can take a moment and
Sure.
recognize the remarkable organizations that are already joining us. And just to reestablish this is very early. 27 organizations right now, 100 by the time we launch, and by that time, I definitely expect to see banks in there. I definitely expect to see other large technology companies, and I definitely expect to see more diversity of organizations in terms of geographical distribution and the likes. So, there's so much work ahead.
Let's talk about the structure of how the currency is used specifically. If I were to acquire Libra on an exchange, am I able to move those coins to a wallet of my own holding with my own keys like I'm able to do with, say, a currency like Bitcoin?
Yes. So while we are starting with a permissioned blockchain on the nodes side of the house, the blockchain will be open, meaning that people and companies can build services on top of the blockchain. You don't need to be a member of the association to build a wallet on top of this new network. And as a result, we will have a lot of competition for our own wallets.
But the wallet can be offline, and so it could be something in which I can hold my keys and the coins on a computer or a USB drive or a laptop that's disconnected from the network and nobody needs to know that I have it anywhere.
Yes.
And then would I be able to transfer those coins to a third party? Would I be able to send you those coins via the blockchain in a way that no entity, whether it's Facebook or any of the the launching partners, would know about? Are we able to transact in a way that no third party is able to see it?
Well, I mean, third party would be able to see it because nodes will validate transactions, and even if you transact on your own on the blockchain, the same way that other blockchains function, third parties, but no one specific party can actually see transactions. The one thing that I want to say though is, despite the fact that non-custodial wallets where you can manage your own private key and move money around will exist, the on and off ramps are going to be regulated. The custodial wallets are going to be regulated, but that doesn't mean that we shouldn't enable a form of digital cash transactions to happen on top of this new network.
Right. So the existence of a digital cash, for obvious reasons, creates all kinds of regulatory issues because, in theory, if I'm able to transact with someone in a permissionless way, then we could be doing something illegal, whether it's evading capital controls, buying drugs, whatever it is. So how do you enable that kind of free exchange while also dealing with the regulatory bodies that are going to exist and scrutinizing this project all over the world?
It's a great question, and I'm glad you asked it. So a couple of things. First of all, we've decided not to enable crypto primitives on this blockchain that would enable what we call shielded transactions. So meaning that, if you're a criminal and you want to transact on a network, this is not going to be your network of choice because accounts are pseudonymous. They're not anonymous or shielded, and as a result, law enforcement can actually do their thing the same way they're doing it with Bitcoin or Ethereum really well. Now, the one thing I would say is that the current effectiveness of anti-money laundering is, catching about, low single-digit percentage of, money laundering happening in the world. And the reason for that is that the vast majority of money laundering is actually happening in the cash system.
Right.
And enabling many people to join a digital network with digital money with regulated on and off ramps. So meaning that even if you want to convert fiat money into Libra, you'll have to go through regulated entities if you're moving large sums of money. And on top of that, no shielded transactions, enabling regulators to actually observe themselves what's going on the network rather than only relying on institutions to report transactions, I think will only improve the effectiveness of money laundering. And that's definitely being done with this in mind. So I think that you can have the best of both worlds, enabling people to use digital cash and be their own custodian, and at the same time not only meet the regulatory requirements, but improve on the effectiveness of money laundering programs and others.
Now, it seems to me that the regulatory thicket you're going to face is just mind-boggling. Dealing in countries all over the world, in the U.S., each state obviously has its own banking regulations, money transmission regulations. What is the plan to create a unified system that satisfies regulators literally all over the world?
Well, I mean, so you have to understand that there are two layers to this. So one is the network that is governed by this non-for-profit association that will be based in Switzerland, the Libra Association. Now, the Libra Association will not touch consumers. As a result, the entities that are going to interface with regulators are mostly going to be the custodial wallets and the regulated entities that will play a part in this ecosystem. Now, on the side of the Libra Association, I think that good conversations are required, notably around transparency, accountability, and management of the reserve, because the reserve is a very important component of the stability of this new digital currency. And we welcome open conversations with regulators to figure out how to drive accountability and transparency for the Libra Association, notably on the reserve.
In the documentation, you talk about how eventually you aspire for the Libra blockchain to become permissionless, and it's not truly there at its launch date. What does that mean to achieve permissionlessness in your view, and how does one reconcile that with the fact that you're going to have to deal with regulated entities as long as it's fiat-backed?
Yeah, I don't think those two things are necessarily correlated. When I think about a permissionless chain, the advantage of a permissionless chain where nodes are more fungible is that the network can actually survive for much longer periods of time. And my hope is that the Libra network is around hundreds of years from now. And as a result, thinking that a static group of organizations are still going to be around managing this network 500 years from now is probably not a good idea. Right. So, having market dynamics get new nodes into the system and replace older nodes and create more competition for nodes is actually going to benefit consumers and ensure that this network is going to be around hundreds of years from now. So I think it's a very important transition and one that will also reflect the impact of the different parties on the ecosystem, because if we end up in a proof of stake mode of consensus algorithm, basically the entities that will have invested the most, that will have the most impact on this ecosystem, will have an equivalent governance.
I want to ask you a final question. Obviously, in the launch of the website and the documentation, in the rhetoric, lots of focus on serving the underbanked. And a lot of people, frankly, in crypto have been talking about this opportunity for a long time. How will the underbanked actually acquire and get onto the network? Because obviously, if you're here in the U.S., it's easy to go on a website and transfer your money and make a purchase. If you live in a cash economy or primarily cash economy or don't have access to existing financial system, what is the on-ramp to Libra that you envision?
Well, it'll have to be cash in and cash out at a local physical place.
Okay.
And, again, that's going to be a game of all the different wallets competing in different regions. The beauty, though, is that all the wallets will be interoperable. So, Calibra might be the best wallet for a certain region. Other wallets will be a better wallet for other regions, but consumers from one wallet will be able to transact with consumers from another wallet because they will live on top of the Libra blockchain. And as a result, we believe that the ecosystem that can be built around this new network can be really powerful in driving more financial inclusion. The one thing I'd say is that when you think about the potential of having a network that reaches